What if the problem isn't how you're investing, but what you believe about money? My guest today, Joel Salomon, knows that there are infinite ways to build wealth. Joel is the author of several books, including The 9 Money Rules Millionaires Use and Infinite Love and Money. This conversation today is part money, part mindset, and part a permission slip to stop outsourcing your power when it comes to building financial independence. Welcome to the Manifestation and Money Podcast, the show where we tackle the taboo topics of money and manifestation. I'm your host, Jenny Schultz, former 9-to-5 grinder who ditched the status quo and went all in on creating a life I love. Yes, I used manifestation. Yes, I took action. And yes, I created a 7-figure net worth before turning 40. Every week, I'll bring you inspiring stories with money mavens and manifestation masters. From learning how to make more, save more, and grow your wealth to unlocking the power of manifesting your dream life. I am so excited to play in this space with you. Let's jump into creating a life you love. Welcome to the Manifestation and Money Podcast, Joel.
Thanks so much for having me, Jen. It's a pleasure and honor to be here today.
I agree with that because I am excited to chat with you. You have a plethora of info about money and manifestation at your fingertips. So I would love for you to share with the listeners just who you are and what your story is.
Sure, appreciate that. So I started my career as an actuary. You may know the difference between an actuary and an accountant. An actuary looks at his feet when he talks to you. An accountant looks at your feet when they talk to you. Yeah, I was that guy, in the back room doing the coding. And if you had told me to do this, I would have said, just shoot me. No, I'm not speaking where more than one person could reach me. I did go through a transformation over the years. And while I was working as an actuary at an insurance company, I realized that that wasn't my dream. And my dream in 1993 was to become a professional money manager. And so I went through the process of getting there, doing that, getting the experience required. And 15 years later, I became a professional money manager. So hopefully today, your viewers and listeners can take advantage of my long road so it can lead to their shortcut. I became a professional money manager in 2008. You may remember, you're too young to remember, but in 2008, there was a big decline in the stock market. It was down 40%. And financial companies were down 57% in the US. And I was managing a financial stock portfolio. I did manage to make a little bit of money that year, made more money the next year, and actually might still be there. But in 2000, I was laid off from the company, the bank I was working at, Citigroup. And that gave me the kick in the butt to start my own firm. So I started my own hedge fund, Salomon Capital, named after my daughters, and my company name is still named after my daughters, Lauren and Morgan. It's L-E-U-R for Lauren, M-O-R for Morgan. So yeah, I started my own hedge fund. I thought that was what I'm going to be doing the rest of my life. And I went to a personal development course in December 2015. And there was a guy standing on stage lying to 200 people, saying there's only one way to get rich, and it's stock options. You don't need much time. You don't need much money. This is how the rich people get rich, he said. And I was sick to my stomach. And then he said stock options are risk-free. And I had people tapping me on the shoulder, whispering in my ear, Joel, is this really true? Options riskless? So I was polite after he was done. We went out of the auditorium and said, please don't do this. He has no idea about any of you individually. And most importantly, no idea about your belief that you can become rich using options. Went home that night, couldn't sleep. The guy was in my head, and I guess like 3:34 in the morning, I jumped out of bed. I realized if I could ever get up the courage to speak on a stage, again, my biggest fear that day was public speaking. I could be of service to people, not lie to them, and tell them the truth about money. And so I walked into my office in Midtown Manhattan, 54th and 6th Avenue, about an hour later, before the sun rose. And I sent an email to my investors telling them I'm giving them their money back. I'm shutting down my fund. I figured out my true purpose on earth.
I love that so much. Coming from a fellow introvert, I know the courage it takes to go, I just got to follow this feeling in my gut and do this thing that's calling me.
Yeah. So now I teach people the truth about money, that there's almost an infinite number of ways to get rich. It could be stock options. Probably out of the 200 people, 3 were going to get rich using stock options. But It could be stocks or real estate or crypto or vending machines, or more likely your business, right? And so I teach people, they come to me and they say, I want to learn X. And then I teach it to them, right? If they want to learn about stocks, I'll teach them that. They want to learn how to grow their business to, 10, 20, 30,000 a month, I'll teach them that. But they come to me because belief is everything, right? And if you don't believe that the services I provide are going to help you, then they're not, right? And if you don't believe in yourself, nothing's going to work. So we got to get your belief level up in yourself first, so that you believe that you're special, that you can, and everyone's special, by the way, that you can be, do, or have whatever you want.
And people like to have options. They don't want to be told this is the way you have to do something. So if you can be educating them, being like, okay, let's get to know who you are and what you like to do, and let's find the money making things that work best for you, people like that. And you've written books too on like 3 books, I believe, on the topics
Correct.
of money. So people have options at their fingertips when they chat with you.
Yeah. And in fact, in the Money Rules Millionaires Use, my second book, I have my 5-step proprietary stock screen. And I also have a 7-step real estate screen. So you can use these screens to figure out which are the best options in stocks, which are the best options in real estate. That's just a starting point, right? But it gives people like, okay, it's not like you have to do stocks or you have to do real estate. Here's just 2 options to start with. And that's towards the end of the book. The beginning of the book is, it's called the 9 Money Rules because we go through 9 rules, of course. And the first one is what we just talked about: when you believe.
I love that you start there because it's so easy. And I shouldn't say that because now on the podcast, I'm getting to talk to more money people that are coming from that starting point. Because at first, when I was delving into the money world, honestly, all the questions got directed to my husband. There was just, this is the way you do things. This is how you make money. We're going to make the money for you. Just give us our money and we're going to do it. So the fact that you're starting your conversation with belief, that's empowering for people.
And what you just said is also really important because I believe that you should take full responsibility for your life,
Mm.
all aspects of your life, even your money. And I've had so many people come to me and say, well, I'm not good at math. I don't have the time. And I will just tell you, those are limiting beliefs because it doesn't take a ton of time necessarily. And you don't necessarily have to be an expert in math to make a ton of money in different investments. But if you believe that you need to, then you will, right? Most people are taught, well, give it to quote unquote an expert, right? Give it to the financial advisor. But do people really understand what the returns the average financial advisor produces for you? And the actual returns that you produce for yourself can be dramatically higher. But the financial advisor, and not to blaspheme financial advisors in general, there are some very great financial advisors. I've coached some of them, but they have risk, right? If they screw up, they can lose their job. They have fiduciary responsibilities, all that. Whereas you can, quote unquote, take responsibility for your money and, quote unquote, take what rule number 8, by the way, in the 9 money rules is don't diversify. So what I teach is don't diversify
Don't
and
diversify.
don't diversify.
Okay.
And we can get into that in a second. But if
Mhm.
you're managing your own money, like if you're giving it to someone else, your returns are automatically lower because they're not going to take the quote unquote risk. And I don't call it risk, it's higher return potential because they don't want to lose their job. They don't want to lose you as a client. But that's where the richest people in the world thrive, right? If you believe and you have information at your fingertips, then you can make significant returns. So let's talk about don't diversify.
Yeah.
So here's a quote from Charlie Munger, who was Warren Buffett's right-hand man, the chairman of Berkshire Hathaway until he passed away 2 years ago. Charlie was probably worth, I don't know, 5 to 10 billion when he passed away, and was Warren Buffett's partner for 50 years. And he said that if you know nothing, diversify. If you know nothing, diversify. The secret to success in investing is non-diversification. If you know nothing, diversify.
Fascinating. Opposite of what you hear out there of the
Right.
mainstream. Yeah.
It's all because of fear.
Mhm.
But let's quote Warren Buffett. So Warren Buffett said, if I had my druthers, I would put more than 50% of my net worth in one company. Peter Lynch from the 1990s, who was the best mutual fund portfolio manager in the 1990s at Fidelity, recommended for individual investors to have no more than two handfuls of investments, no more than 10 stocks, 2 to 10, he said. And by the way, he generated an average return of over 30% per annum for 10 years. And then the theory of diversification comes from, and this is getting into the weeds, but I'll get into the weeds for a second, Harry Markowitz, who's the father of modern portfolio theory. And it comes from the fact that if he said, based on the math, that if you want your highest risk adjusted returns, you would diversify. But he also said, if you want to maximize your absolute return, then don't.
Mhm.
And the reason why is because volatility or risk is defined as upside and downside movement. So why should I care if my stock goes up more than the stock market? So the market goes up 1% today, my stock's up 5. Market goes up 2, it's up 10. I don't care. That's good, right? That's what I want. But that's included in his math for the volatility of the stocks. So the modern portfolio theory is not what you want to use to make your best returns.
Yeah. And this isn't the stuff that you're hearing in mainstream on the news and stuff. This is the stuff that you're hearing when you're listening to podcasts and getting to talk firsthand to people who have seen it all, like doing your job that you used to do and running the business you used to run. You have all these little insights now. So if somebody's coming to you, I mean, I guess you have a whole book on the 9 Money Rules Millionaires Use. Like, where does somebody start?
Yeah, before I get to that, I just want to share my experience. So, as
Yeah.
a professional money manager, I found over the 8 years I was a professional money manager that my top 3 to 5 ideas at the beginning of the year, I wrote down my belief level, highest conviction, top 3 to 5 ideas made me more than 100% of the return on my portfolio. And my portfolio had 70 to 90 stocks, sometimes 100. I needed to because, quote unquote, I was required to diversify, right? But my top 3 to 5 made me more than 100%, on average 120% of the return for the year. And the rest of the stocks lost me money.
Hmm.
That was my personal experience over 8 years. So, where does a person start? We talked about it's belief, right? You need to figure out what your belief level is in everything. What's your belief level in your business? From 1 to 10, 10 is absolute faith, 1 is massive doubt. Right? What's your belief level in the stock? What's your belief level in real estate? When I was writing the 9 Money Rules Millionaires Use, a buddy of mine was a beta reader. And he's like, I think you should take out the chapter on real estate. The title of the chapter is, Can Real Estate Make You Rich? Question mark. It was a rhetorical question, but he said, no, take it out. You can't get rich in real estate. Because his personal experience was, for over 10 years in his house, he didn't make any money. Right. And so belief is everything.
Hmm.
Right. And there are a lot of people who just read that chapter in my book because they wanted to learn about real estate because they believe that's the way to becoming rich.
Right.
So what's your level? 1 to 10, 10 absolute faith, 1 massive doubt in everything you do. Before you invest, you should write it down. And do it for your existing investments too. Because I will tell you, if you're not a 7, 8, 9, or 10, they're not going to make you money. You're going to be selling when you should be buying and buying when you should be selling.
Hmm. Yeah. And especially if you're, yeah, have your hands in too many pies, you're not fully clear on the strategy that you should be using if you're not, well, diversified. But but if you're undiversified, what was the word that you used? Not diversified.
Non-diverse, yeah.
Yeah.
So here's a spiritual part of it, and I'm quite woo. So
Hmm.
hopefully your listeners and viewers are. But where focus goes, energy flows.
Hmm.
And so if you're dispersed and there's not focus, your energy is dispersed. And so being more concentrated and focusing on one or two or three investments or four or five, but not 20. By the way, the richest people in the world don't have a lot of investments,
Hmm.
right? Think about the business people, not to get political, but the guy who's head of Tesla, he has two or three other businesses. You know, I mean, that's where all of his net worth is,
Right.
right? And so you could think about like Steve Jobs, who started Apple, or Bill Gates, who started Microsoft. They didn't put their eggs in 10 baskets and say, okay, well, I'm going to try this to see. No, they put all the net worth into their business and wanted like focus, energy in one place. Let's make this work.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. I just want to know what some of your other, I could go read the book, but I've got you in front of me now. What are
Well,
some of the other nine rules?
you will after this conversation. So
Yeah.
rule number 2 is trust your intuition.
Mm.
And I will tell you, no financial advisor will tell you to trust your intuition, but this former hedge fund manager will, because I know if I didn't trust my intuition, I either lost money or made less money.
Mhm.
And so people ask me, Joel, how do I develop my intuition? And I say, it's just like any other muscle. So I used to go to the gym and do my curls, my bicep curls to develop my bicep. So do it every day. You're making hundreds, if not thousands, of decisions every day. Start small. You're gonna go on a drive or go on a walk. Which way should I go? I live near Manhattan. You're on the subway platform. The local train's sitting there. The express is coming in 2 minutes. What do you do? Local express. What do you do? Trust your intuition.
Okay.
I used to drive my kids to school. They're a little bit older now, but I used to drive my kids to school, and we used to take the highway. But there was one particular morning that the highway was all backed up with traffic. And my intuition was still telling me to take the highway, but my intellect said, no, go local, look. Didn't trust my intuition, went local. And because I didn't trust my intuition, well, what happened was I started hearing sirens, saw the flashing lights. And because I didn't trust my intuition, it cost me a $150 speeding ticket.
Oh no.
And to this day, my daughters tease me and call me Speedy Pants.
So you get to relive that lesson over and over and over. Yeah. Intuition, that's a big one. And that is not a hard one, but that is a simple tool that we have access to in our own being that we often overlook.
And it's even to this day, it's like so I talked about this in the Money Rules Millionaires Use. I see stock symbols on license plates.
Oh,
And so I started seeing them in 2012, talked all about it in the intuition chapter. And even to this day, I'll get signs from license plates, and it's still okay. And my view is that it's the universe telling me, just take a look, like,
mhm.
do some analysis. Here's some, like, it may go up, it may go down, but it's going to move, right? It's not staying flat. Do the analysis, take a look. There's money to be made here, right? I'm an analyst, right? Trust, just going in right away. It literally happened to me 3 weeks ago. I started seeing this license plate, and yesterday the stock was up 18% in one day.
Oh, wow.
And I'm still doing my analysis, right? And so I
Mhm.
need to like really trust and say, okay, just take action. Use the sway test, use your intuition. Is it going to go up or down, right? Just
Mhm.
take action, because sometimes things move quick. I could have made
That's
18% yesterday in one day, or
mhm.
25% in the last 2 weeks. That
Yeah.
doesn't happen too often.
No, and I think taking action is a big piece of building future wealth for yourself. So many people, like real estate is my favorite thing, and they say I'm lucky because I've invested in real estate. And I'm like, no, I just said yes and I pulled the trigger and I went out and bought something, right? It's the taking action piece of where are you choosing to send your dollars?
Here's a great quote: taking action breeds clarity.
Mm. I
Taking
like
action breeds clarity. And mood follows action, by the way.
mood
It follows
follows
action.
action.
Yeah, because
How so?
if I had taken action on that stock, I'd be really happy today,
Ah.
right? And
Mhm.
also, if you're taking action, you're learning, right?
Mhm.
So that's why it's breeding clarity. So you're like, okay, I'm doing this action over here. Say you're not sure which service or program you should be pushing on in your business, right? So push on like different ones and see what gets traction. If you're not taking any action, then you won't know.
Mm-hmm.
And you're
Yeah,
not going to be
true.
happier at the end of the series of actions you've taken.
True. You'll still be sitting in the what if of the daydream.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. So mood follows action.
Yeah. So now I'm just curious. If you say somebody is coming into your world, and where would you point them to start? You have three books. Somebody, I mean, I guess it probably depends at what point in their life that they're at and what they're wanting to do. But do you recommend your second book as a good starting point for people?
Yes. So the Money Rules Millionaires Use, this is my second book. And if you're in a relationship and you want to improve the communication around money in that relationship, then Infinite Love and Money, my third book, is the one to go to. It's co-written with a relationship coach, Molly Singh. And the idea was to end divorce caused by money. So it's a little bit different focus. It's really for partners to do it together. There are exercises at the end of each chapter. It's an interactive book.
Mhm.
And we created the money personality type survey for people to figure out what their money personality type is. So we came up with Sugar Pie as the acronym, because S is splurger, U is the unconscious ones, G is, and the names are provocative. G is greedy, I is the investor type, E is egotist, SUG, A is accumulator, then P is protectionist, I is investor, E is accumulator, E is the egotist.
What is your biggest piece of advice for people to go out and create a life of, in your case, financial independence?
So it's starting with the mindset, right? You have to believe that you can do it. And then, like we've been talking about, take action, right? So start with your belief and figure out what lights you up, what you're excited about and where you have desire. Do you have a burning desire for financial independence? Because if you don't, if you're not like 7, 8, 9 to 10 on the desire level, if you're like, yeah, whatever, it's not happening. And then you have to believe that it can happen, right? And so once you have belief and desire high, that means you have expectation,
Mm.
right? Expectation is high belief, high desire. And so putting those together and then taking action, figuring out what lights you up, is it real estate? Is it stocks? Is it crypto? Is it vending machines? Is it your business? Whatever it is, focus there. Where focus goes, energy flows.
Perfect. I love that so much. And where can listeners reach out and connect with you and carry on this conversation?
So Salomon.com, again, is my company name, named after my daughters, Lauren and Morgan. I have, especially for your viewers, Jen, I'm going to offer an individualized roadmap to an extra $10,000 in the next 30 days, but not for everybody. This is normally a $1,000 prosperity coaching call, but for the first 7 in February, okay, it's complimentary.
Okay, awesome. Well, I will link that in the show notes for everyone. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Sure.
And thank you so much for joining me on the show today and having this conversation.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate you.
Before you go, I know you've got some big dreams and desires of your own calling to you. I'd love for you to come hang out with me inside Manifestation Playground on School. It's free to join, and you'll get instant access to the Manifestation Vault and an amazing community of fellow manifestors. Come in, drop me a hello, share a win, or just quietly binge the tools, your pace, your vibe. Head to manifestationplayground.ca, and I'll see you in there.